Well, anybody who uses a computer, you press a key and you think you've pressed the letter ban or something, right? You haven't. You've pressed a key and you've created an electronic code that the computer knows about, and it can send that code to another computer next door or across the world or whatever. And it's supposed to turn up as a letter ban on that side too. And it used to be, before the 1990s, there were problems in making sure that the letters were sent from one place to the next and got there in the same way, because you had very small character sets. And so some character sets in Western Europe would use Latin letters, and some in Russia, or the Soviet Union then, would be using Cyrillic letters and stuff, and you would get things and you wouldn't know what to do unless you changed the font, and you'd have to know what that was. The Unicode standard encodes all of the letters and symbols used for writing all the languages of the world, to the degree that we haven't finished it because there's more work to do, but it still covers almost everything. And so since the beginning, since 1991, Georgian, for instance, has been in Unicode. There were, in the early 90s, Unicode wasn't implemented, and so there were still computing solutions for the writing system which used other encodings, and that is unfortunately still a problem in Georgia today. Well, emoji, I suppose, because there's a lot of focus on that where people are inventing new symbols and things, and it's a lot of fun, but I'm not sure how endless that could possibly be. The real challenge for Unicode, I mean, emoji are fun and I use them, so does everybody, but it's text, whether it's text for ancient languages or text for modern languages, text for new writing systems in West Africa, which aren't in computers at all yet, those sorts of things. That's the kind of work that still needs to be done. In a place like Georgia, we still have the problem of old 8-bit style legacy fonts competing with Unicode, and that's a major challenge for this country. Well, there are a variety of reasons for the continued use of the older fonts, one of which I think is the non-standard representation for Matavruli. Back in the 90s, they said, well, we'll have one font called Keti, and we'll have one font called Keti Caps, and if I want to write Matavruli, I'll just switch the font. And then there's other people who encoded the Mtavruli on the Asomtavruli capitals from the ecclesiastical script, and then there's some people who've encoded the Mtavruli in the private use area. And there's no standardization there. That's a problem for Georgian data, because there's Georgian data up on the internet which might be in Unicode where Bon is really Bon, but it might be not in Unicode where Bon is really B. And that's just not good. It's not good for Googling Georgian data. It's not good for anything. Well, I've been adding to Georgian Unicode since for a long time. I helped to disunify Asomtavruli and Nuskhuri from Mechedruli. Asomtavruli was already disunified. I helped to disunify Nuskhuri from Mechedruli. And then I helped to add some letters for Laz and Tabasaran and Bats and Svan and things. Currently, I think and then later on the Lari sign was invented, and that was added. That was added very quickly because everybody's excited when people invent currency signs, because they need immediate implementation. So that was that. There may be more dialect or linguistic material for Georgian, of course, but the biggest problem, I think, is finding a standard solution for Mtavruli. There's a proposal now to add a set of capital letters for Georgian, which I hope will be accepted. If it were, then I think that with public education, the whole, and some work to convert every font on fonts.ge and get rid of the old ones, or hive them off in a legacy place and really educate people. Please change your stuff to this. All of your favorite fonts will be available in Mechadruli and Lataroli in the new standardized way. That is probably the way forward, but it'll require encoding the stuff, it'll require re-encoding the fonts, and it will very much require telling people that this has happened, so that and telling them that the right thing to do is to convert your stuff if you can, to make tools available to help them do it, and including keyboard drivers and that sort of thing. Why do Georgians use Latin letters sometimes and not Georgian letters? Well, they're obviously using that in environments where Georgian letters are not available. I know the iPhone will display Georgian text. It has internal fonts to display Georgian text. There's no problem with that. But for whatever reason, Apple haven't made an input method, a keyboard available for that. So that's your problem there, is to make sure that those resources are available, and also then a certain amount of education to let people know that they're there. I mean, certainly Georgians who are writing SH for sh know that they're not supposed to be doing that. They know that it doesn't look right. They do it because it's a workaround, and for Sha, in the ASCII fonts, it's just a capital S as opposed to a small s for San. And so although they don't necessarily see that, because the glyph shapes that they're going to have for those fonts will be Georgian enough. I'm sure that if input methods are available for Georgian, that people will just use them. And the only reason that they're really using the other is because they haven't an alternative.